So it's 6:03. I'll call the meeting to order. First thing, I would like to add something to the agenda, if it's okay with everyone, to talk about the select board and the land purchase and have a discussion around that. So if we can put that, where do you want to put that, Christina? Unfinished?
Unfinished business, because we've been
Okay.
talking about this.
Is that everyone good with that? Okay.
If we need a motion to add, I don't know if we need a motion or not, but we might as well.
Might as well, it wouldn't hurt.
I move that we add a discussion about the land transfer to the town from the school to unfinished business.
Second.
All in favor of adding the land transfer discussion to the agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? I don't think so. Thank you. So, approval of the minutes for December 6th and February 13th.
Move that we accept the December 6th, 2016 minutes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion about December 6th? They're very short. All in favor of approving the December 6th minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Okay. Those are approved. Moving right along to February 13th. Not quite as short and sweet.
Move that we accept the February 13th, 2017 minutes.
Second again.
Any discussion?
Can I ask my name be spelled correctly?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You can ask that.
One L in holiday.
I know, I get autocorrect and then I just freak out or something, I don't know what I do.
I don't even see your name on here. Is it up here in all this
Oh.
questions?
In the also
Okay.
present school administration, so Michael, you have that?
Oh, so it's at the very top, right? Yep.
Yep.
Is it anywhere else that you notice?
I didn't notice it anyway.
Okay.
So.
Well, throughout we'll make the change if it shows up somewhere else, of course.
Any other changes? Thank you, Joe Carey. Here, don't worry about it.
I had to get a new one. I couldn't find it. It's funny.
All in favor of approving February 13th minutes while I put this thing in the folder? Please say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Hearing none, those are approved. Communications. No communications?
It's crazy, I don't think I have any.
That's perfect. Good, okay. Recognition of groups of visitors. Hi.
Hey.
So, that was easy. The warrants.
There were none with a book.
We were emailed some.
But weren't they, we were done though, we showed up and did those, right?
February 14th. We didn't have them on the Monday night because,
Right, and so I came in and signed those.
right, and I sent
But
them.
that's all there is, right?
It should be.
But there's more? Oh, I didn't see any.
And I didn't go into the closet.
Again,
so-
I had it all printed out and I left it on my desk, so let me see what's in my email. I apologize for doing this. But if we don't have them, we don't have
I
them.
don't-
No, he. Not at
Warrants of
right,
214.
That's the last one.
I haven't seen another set of warrants since
Okay,
then.
perfect. We are cruising right along. Tuition reduction request. Well, I have the letters. Can we do it without her, or?
I know she wanted to be here for it. Can I just make sure she's not thinking it starts at 6:30?
Sure.
Do you have more than one?
Tuition request?
Request, yeah, just
Just-
one, just
okay,
one.
did
If
you
I
say-
said yes,
Yeah.
okay, sorry.
Can I
Okay.
ask another question at this particular stage?
Yes, you may.
I noticed that there was like $30,000 worth of tuition. Is that 2 students?
It is.
I believe so.
2.5 students, I believe.
2.5 students. And your tuition rate is?
The announced tuition, I believe, is going to be 15,000. Take a look.
That's the new one coming up, 15,000?
I believe it is, yeah.
Thank you.
Confirm here on just a minute.
In which case, it must just be 2. If it's $30,000 proposed.
Yeah, but you're talking about a partial one here too, so.
Yeah.
But there's one definite full.
uh-huh.
There's this partial, so that gets us to 23. There's several in the offing,
Good. Great.
so I'm wondering if we figure there's a 50% chance that one of the 2 or 3 people interested in tuitioning will come.
Okay, good.
She's not here.
Okay. We can, as long as we're not losing time,
I mean, I think it's gonna be whatever.
okay. So we'll table that till next time.
Or if she comes.
Or if she comes, okay. Is that agreeable with everyone?
That's fine.
Okay.
Sure.
Committee reports.
I don't think there's anything to report from any committee, is there? I haven't had any bus duty this far into the year.
Okay. We are gonna be out of here.
Well, maybe we
6:45.
Wait for public.
Act 46 update. Christina, you're on.
I don't know if I have anything to update particularly, because we have not met since the vote of the 21st, I think it was. So, there's nothing to update. There's a meeting this Thursday. I don't even know where the meeting.
Cusick.
Cusick.
Cusick, oh. Okay, there's a meeting at Cusick this Thursday.
Okay.
Strangely, that one's quick too.
Yeah. Until Amy gets here. Town meeting preparation. Again, I had this all printed out. So we historically just divvy up the articles that we're going to read out loud. And I had copies for everyone. Sitting on the desk.
Do you want me to photocopy so that?
I think that would be helpful. So if anyone is really drawn to reading a certain thing, if it moves you, speak up.
Take one of the shorter ones.
You're
a good reader, Emily.
The new person always gets the shortest one.
It's called the short stick.
That's right. Right with that.
So you can have Article 2, which is to act on the auditor's report of the town school district. That's a tough one.
What page of the warning, the articles on?
60. Besides divvying up the articles, I don't remember there being any other, because this is my first town meeting as chair, of what we need to prepare for.
Somebody usually reviews the budget, highlights of the budget.
Christina
Yeah.
is going to highlight the budget.
Okay.
She's so wonderfully agreed to do that. What else am I missing?
Frank, you'll be there?
I think so.
I hope so.
I know Mom wants me to try to do what I did last year. I think was Putney first, and it depends on whose school meeting is first or
We are in the afternoon.
Guilford and Dummerston are in the afternoon.
Guilford and Dustin in the afternoon. Okay, I'm not sure. Do you know if Putney's in the morning?
Putney's in the morning.
Okay, so it'll probably work out then.
So,
Can I
you can, whatever you want.
do some, just administrative trivia stuff?
Thank you.
Oh, I just totally
That's
skipped
right,
over
probably because I
that.
was out of the room.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let folks know or float it out there that I was planning not to offer babysitting this year at town meeting. It's become me sitting middle school and upper grade kids who volunteer to come and sit for younger kids. But with Aspire, there really hasn't been a need for the past few years of having anybody. I still need to get a couple runners for the microphones, but
I just was at Green Mountain Camp last week, and Billy Slade said something to me about it. So I don't know if she reached out to you about providing childcare that day.
she did.
She asked me, she said, would you be interested? And initially I said yes, but that's because of Aspire, I don't need it.
She wanted to know if, she was looking for somebody to provide childcare during town meeting
Yes.
day?
Yep, but if she hasn't contacted you then.
Huh.
I mean, she was looking to be a provider?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she was looking to
Yeah, I'm
provide
sorry,
it.
yep.
She was offering her services
Oh,
at a
But
provider.
if she hasn't contacted you
She hasn't
then-
contacted me, and I don't think we need it.
Yeah.
Middle school, sometimes they come as an assignment, but
Mhm.
they're fine. Kids that need childcare usually are at Aspire, but not always. But we'll see what happens. I'll find out from Sue Wilmot, I'm sure, if she's, if we still need it, then I'll call the neighbors. to
Yeah,
come
Caroline's
back.
on it, yeah.
And that just, we finished up winter activities. We got all 6 in, which was amazing with water crisis and snow days. Yes.
Speak up, Lisa.
We got winter activities completed, and which was amazing with snow days, and that they were able to do a makeup the week before vacation, which hasn't been the case in the past because that's has historically been a big week for ski areas, so they haven't been able to do a makeup, but they did, which is great. So I'm hoping that sometimes after town meeting, I want to bring all of the financial information about winter activities to just review with you and go from there. Kindergarten registration is March 28th. We have 15 signed up now.
Wow.
Great. And so that's moving ahead. And that the PTFO is planning another fundraiser in the form of one of those vendor raffles on April 1st. You'll be getting information about it. This year, and for the spring one, the kids are going to, each class is going to do a theme basket to raffle off as part of the raffle. We're looking for some baked goods, part of the bake sale, but you'll get more information about that. But try to make it as successful as the ultimate shopping one.
That's great.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you make copies?
I did. Do you want a copy of the articles?
So far we have Emily doing Article 2. Who wants to do Article 1?
Nobody does Article 1.
Nobody, okay,
That's
I'm
the
new to
vote.
this. Okay.
Yeah. That's the Australian ballot.
Oh, right,
That's one.
okay, I didn't even
Yeah.
read it, I just saw it, yeah, okay.
Oh, you should have do that.
Article 3.
I'll take Article 3.
Article 4.
I can do that one too.
Article 5.
Sure.
Article 6.
Article 5, wait a minute, isn't Article 5 the budget?
It's the budget, so maybe I should do that.
Oh, I was thinking, didn't you want to do it?
Well, Christina's going to do the budget
Okay.
discussion, so, okay.
So, and
So Michael, do you want to do Article 6?
Sure.
and I'll do 7.
Could I make a comment about that?
Yes.
Seeing as that article is directing the school board to do something, I was thinking that it should be the people that petitioned to the school board to put it on.
You know, Jerome had emailed me and suggested that also now that you mentioned that.
Because it is directing something to the school board.
So that would just come from the floor.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well then, Emily, why don't I take Article 4 from you?
Okay.
So, or Christina, I don't care which.
Why don't you do Article 4?
Well, otherwise you're not doing one. We don't want to have you not doing article.
Well, I'm not doing one either, so I'll take
Well, you
Article
should-
3.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, you take Article 3. It should be so.
So Katie's gonna do 3 and I'm gonna do 4?
yes.
Okay.
So is there any other, Amy, am I missing anything around what we need to?
No.
prep?
Under other business, I thought that as the study committee member that Christina and I could maybe give an update on the study committee's current state.
I think that, because I'm not sure I'm going to make the Thursday meeting, I think that will be you, because there's not
Okay.
much to,
Yeah.
I may do 7 hours of driving to make it, but I'm,
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Is there, with respect to that, is there any specific information that we feel that we should be passing on to the community? I mean, I know that we can reference them to the Articles of Agreement in their current draft, BCTV website. We can go over sort of where, we'll have a better feel after Thursday's meeting where things stand. I thought we might want to touch on other governance structures and why they may not they're not necessarily appropriate, you know, or they don't necessarily fit well.
I think we should,
Those were the things that were in
Yeah.
my mind in terms of, and of course, we'll take questions from the floor on specific issues, but I figured we'd try and give a presentation of the highlights based on the questions that we've gotten independently and then from study committee meetings from Dummerston folks, you know, so.
I'm wondering if maybe we could, there's no way to show a PowerPoint, right?
I think
We can.
Yeah, I was gonna work on a PowerPoint.
So do a PowerPoint and say like, this is a structure, this is what
Yep.
we would have to do to meet that structure's requirements.
Right.
In, like,
Beth has sent me her email, Beth Bristol, who gave a similar presentation to Guilford, and I guess they're gonna be doing it again in their pre-town meeting prep. She forwarded me her presentation, so I thought I would go through it and tweak it for, remove the Guilford references and
And we're
make it
K through
Dummerston.
8, not K through 6, so
Right.
that's a different
Right.
ballgame. Is there some way we could convene as, I hate to say this, but is there some way we could convene as a board before, like on Monday, to kind of just review it and have the board understanding what's on there as a board?
I think because it's a Dummerston Town School Board presentation at a Dummerston Town Meeting Day, I think that's appropriate for us to actually have an idea of what it is. I mean,
I
know
can
we
forward it
speak-
to you. so.
I understand, but then we wouldn't have an opportunity to really have any meaningful comment or change prior to the actual presentation, at least as a board.
It would be helpful for me since I've just joined the board. I think that would be good.
So now the question is, anybody available anytime on Monday? I'm working all weekend, so I get Monday off.
I can meet after work, but, after 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's fine.
6 o'clock?
6?
Or
Okay.
is 6:30 better? Given that Tuesday's town meeting day,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we should make it 6:30 in case people have things at work.
I think 6:30 works better for me.
Okay.
Okay, 6:30.
6 or 6:30?
6:30.
6:30, thank you.
And this would be more of a work session type of thing?
Yes.
Kind of a prep session, I think, yeah. I mean,
Work prep.
yeah, work prep, just so that we're all understanding.
And Joe Carroll, we can have this space?
Yes.
No.
Because they'll set up for,
Right.
Oh, the books.
adopt a book.
We can have a space?
We can meet in there.
Oh, right, okay.
I
But
don't-
we'll need
you don't- It's like a work session if you don't want to.
Up here.
Okay.
And then we can get set up for a PowerPoint for
Yes,
town meeting?
yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I will try my best to forward an, an advance copy, depending on workload.
That's a great idea. And then we
Great.
can review it and come with,
Right.
comments or whatever. Monday, at 6:30.
Does one of you let Barb know that, or am I?
I'll let Barb know. Barb has like this telepathic, she just magically
She's good.
I get to work in the morning and there's an email from her. What's going on in this? Okay, I don't know how you figured this out overnight, but
She bugged the room, that's all.
God, she's got the room bugged. That's what it is. Okay, any further town meeting prep we could do on Monday? Okay, select board land transfer discussion.
I went to the last select board meeting. I was surprised at their initial disinterest in taking over, the potential taking over of the land, and I think that they have had issues with the takeover of the community center, and there have been expenses and hassles involved with that, but Paul Normando was at the meeting, said, well, a field has a lot less maintenance, you don't paint a field, you don't have, and after discussion for about, Emily and I met too.
We were there, I think, for an hour.
Yeah. So after about 45 minutes of discussion, they voted that they would be interested in looking at a proposed lease that the Dummerston Town School Board would present to the select board. So that's where we stand, so I mean.
So a lease, not a transfer of the property? I don't
Well, how the lease,
understand.
they're interested in how the lease would work.
Oh, okay.
Because that's more of their concern. They weren't concerned with the nuts and bolts of the transfer. They were concerned how they might get stuck for how the costs were gonna be structured and who was gonna be responsible, and, so that was what their concern was. They were happy if we used Fisher & Fisher to save money for the town, because that's who they would use for this.
What's the timeline for us to pull that together? We don't know.
And I'm wondering if we should postpone that, I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud, should we postpone that expense of having a lawyer draft a lease, which I don't know how much that expense would be, but having a lawyer take care of that? until we know that it's a possible expense that we're due.
know if you necessarily need a lot of work on it. I mean, there's pretty standard lease agreements, I'm sure that Michael can talk to, but I think the real issue would be indicating to the select board who's gonna be responsible for, fertilization, maintenance, aeration, and oversight of the property.
Right.
That would be, if I were in their shoes, that's what I would be interested in.
And I think that's what they were, then they were interested in what if the school no longer wants the fields? What would the repercussions be for the town?
Okay.
Emily,
So,
you say something,
Yes.
please? I was at that meeting also, and one of the things that came out of that meeting that I think a couple of the select board members were not really aware of is the amount that the rec board uses that field. And so they're a town function and not a school function. And so that was interesting, I think, to some of the select board members.
yeah, thank you, Jody. I was sort of thinking that once I said, well, the fields are used for a lot of rec board and that's a town function, and several select board members said, oh, okay, now I understand why this makes some sense to have it in the town control, so that, versus, because they were hoping we'd set up a nonprofit and to manage that, to transfer the land, but then in the course of the discussion.
So maybe that speaks to needing some, rather than anecdotal, that's used a lot by the rec board, to actually provide some hard data about, that this is the times of heavy usage, and it's used typically from 3 to 7 p.m.,
Right.
For soccer in the fall, and, X many days a week, so.
How is that managed, Joe Carroll? What's the field schedule? Is it written, who's in control of that?
I am under,
Oh, so you've got it all in
You?
your brain. You can tell us how many hours the rec.
so the rec board sort of works around the school's sports schedules. But most of their time is on weekends and after 6 at night in the spring and in the fall. And sort of the bigger soccer field and the baseball field have been managed by Claude, which has been a godsend. That and it's priority to Dummerston students, teams with Dummerston students on them, teams with some affiliation to Dummerston. And then I think Landmark pays in the summer to use it, which keeps the fund going, which keeps the maintenance of the field, and all of that money gets channeled through PTFO and Lori at the town offices.
So there's no main calendar, just.
No,
sort
not
of
like,
space.
not like there is for the gym. And the rec just comes and does what, they'll, I don't know what fields they use, but they figure it out.
So I could contact somebody in the rec board, get a sense from them.
Yeah.
Do you know how much we get from Landmark roughly for rentals
$750.
for the summer?
Yeah.
And then there's other income too that comes from the other groups that use the soccer fields and.
Like, I
Softball leagues
think,
and
yeah,
that kind of
I think
stuff.
Ron brings in money when he's using it in the summer.
Oh.
He has not necessarily set up the same sort of system, but I know that he'll get a bus and take kids places with whatever he takes in.
So I think between the rec board and Claude that you'd have a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
How much it gets used,
Yeah.
and Ron at the soccer.
And I can try to get that information too.
Well, I guess the total income that is coming in from the fields might be helpful in terms of the select board's concern that they're going to be stuck with some expense if it's not used for school purposes somehow. And Then there's the expense side.
Yeah, then there's the expense side.
Right, Frank? We've got revenue, we've got expenses.
Right, and the revenue doesn't, yeah. I mean,
But like a rough
we don't
estimate.
take care of the baseball field.
Okay.
I mean, we
Right,
just don't.
We don't do
At
it,
some
yeah.
point, we're going to have to.
But we do mow, the general mowing is done, right?
The general mowing is done, but everything other than that, the
Right.
additional mowing, the mowing that happens because the season is up and running and it needs to be shorter, we don't pay for any of
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah. Nor the line striping or any of that kind
Right.
of stuff, that's all done by volunteers.
Yeah.
But so if they weren't being used as fields and we didn't have income, then we wouldn't have those expenses, you know, it's.
We wouldn't
So-
have those expenses, but then it would go to seed.
Right, right. So you'd have to be mowing it a couple
Yeah.
times a
I
season.
mean, he's put out an irrigation, there's sprinklers and dugouts and all sorts of things that have come out of that fund, that he comes and requests, the board approves. Yeah.
And,
some
and
point
the
that-
money too, Claude has used to, like, spiff up the basketball outdoor. I mean, it
He
it goes to
replaces the
general,
hoops every.
it goes to general improvements
Right.
outside too.
Right.
So it's not just totally limited
For
to
fields.
the fields, yeah, so.
He did the walkway on the west side.
Yeah.
From the door to the buses.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I just want to find out what the will of the board is, if there's a desire to move forward on this and to spend some money having a lease that we can present to the select board. They would like to see a lease. Surprisingly, the select board doesn't want to pay for anything.
Right, I wasn't thinking of them paying for it. I mean, we had tried to do that before, but because of the income sensitivity.
No.
Yeah,
no.
no.
They don't want to pay for even having a lease written up. That's what I was
Oh,
referring
okay.
to. They want us to
Right.
have the lease written up. So,
Well, I think it's our responsibility if we're proposing this to them to
Yeah.
give them the framework around which we think it would work. So.
Maybe see what Putney comes up with. When they were looking at the
Right.
town purchasing the land, forest area.
It's quite involved, I want you to know.
Is it?
They've hired a lawyer, yeah, they've hired people to do some surveying of the land. It's, I would say, much more involved than what you would want for
Yeah.
separating this, yeah.
Michael, do you have thoughts about?
Well, yeah, I have a couple. I guess the question along the lines of, is it the will of the board? What would we anticipate, you know, I mean, I know you're gonna look at all the costs. I gather that, you wanna gather that information. But would it be the school leasing from the town after transfer to the town? Yes.
Yes, like a triple
Yep.
net lease.
Triple net lease, so that, yeah, okay.
So the town is just
Just the
the
owner.
overseer,
Just the owner.
right?
Okay.
And the school would still maintain and
Be responsible for,
Yes.
get
Get the
insurance
income,
for, et cetera.
rent it for $1, lease it for $1.
Correct, yeah, okay.
So what would a board expect to pay for such a lease of that nature in general terms? What you
Are we
think?
talking just what the lease would look like, or the actual lease that would govern this particular thing? Because I think to get an off-the-shelf lease, you know, relatively straightforward to get an idea of what a lease would look like,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't necessarily be tailored to this specific situation yet. There might be two ways to do it, is to get a general lease. These are the general
Mhm.
terms and conditions that we would be talking about. Does this interest you? And then if that answer is yes, then it might be worth spending more money to have it specifically tailored. It would obviously refer to a legal description of the land, which wouldn't be done now, because you'd need maybe a surveyor.
Yeah.
And definitely a title search. So I'm sorry, might have made this more confusing, But I think that the idea of getting a general lease for what it might look like for a triple net lease for just a ground situation where the I always get them confused. The lessee would be responsible for all.
Yeah.
The lessee would be responsible for all of the costs of maintaining the premises, and that we could present that general thing to the select board. I may have one that I could find pretty easily, if that's something the board, and I could bring it to the next meeting or to even to the, I don't know about the work session, but
That might be a good way to keep it going and just sort of test the waters and be able to have it be a larger discussion and decide if that's what's wanted or not, versus us investing a lot of money and.
And I know we don't have a specific article about this for town meeting because we don't have a proposed, yes or no. But perhaps there should be some sort of discussion at town meeting in the other business that talks about, maybe gets a sense of what the electorate would want or be interested in pursuing, whether this is a non-starter or whether it's something that there's general public interest in having, maintained these fields. At least that's my interpretation. Please correct me if you.
Maybe we should put
see
that under the
otherwise.
town section of the meeting and not the school district section of it, no? You think
I
it's
think
school?
it goes under the school because it's the school wanting to transfer this to the town. I mean, it probably could go under either, but. And,
Yeah, kinda vote, yeah.
and we can always warn a
And-
special meeting or vote, if it
Right.
takes that,
Right.
to move this forward.
But it might be good to have the conversation at one time or the other, just to say, no, that's the worst idea I've ever heard in my life from the whole town, then we can just not do this extra work.
It would probably be nice to have that conversation before we got too deep in the weeds.
Yep, yeah.
I mean, as I look at it, the townspeople, and not that I would be the lawyer for this, but the townspeople would be the client, of this whole transaction, so they would,
No.
both transactions.
Yes, right.
Yes, Jody?
I did do some research on this because I was one of the ones that promoted this. And the land was given to the town or spot from the school district in 2 different parcels. And there is a map and there are some deeds and bounds on it. It may not, I can't remember whether it's a survey or not, but there's several pieces of information that I have gotten from the town that I can pass on to Michael and Christina and see if any of it helps at all.
Okay.
Sure, thanks for that.
The only other thing too, I'm wondering about for Article 8, going back to the town meeting thing, I just thought of this, I had thought of it earlier. I don't know, Christina, if you want, I know you're active with the Save Our Schools group. I don't know if you want to give an update.
I have shown up and described, answered questions about Act 46. I am not a part of that group, so I just want to
Okay.
be clear on that. I've answered questions. I was invited
Okay.
to be on a program, and then Mike said, "Oh, you're going to Save Our Schools." I'm like, "No, I don't even know when the meeting is." So
Right,
it's
and there was a
little bit
meeting
of
yesterday too, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tommy,
But I didn't
said,
know
"Can you just come and speak?"
if the group felt that it might be important to have someone like you who's in touch with them speak to those type of issues.
So is this Article 7 you're talking about?
No, it'd be 8.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So what is it you're asking? I'm not.
Well, since you've been affiliated with the Save Our
Right.
Schools group, I'm just thinking of presenting all the information.
To see if they would want to do some sort of something?
Not necessarily them, but I just was thinking of, like I said, you've had contact with them. You're part of, their activities, if there's anything there to report that is relevant to rounding out the discussion and views of.
I would think that would be done in our PowerPoint presentation in terms of, people have ideas about in terms of informing the public. I think that's what our PowerPoint is there to do.
Yeah.
And so I think just in terms of people saying, oh, we don't have to do this, we don't have to do that, it's helpful to have somebody in a room to answer those questions. This is the process, this is what's going on.
Well-
I would suspect we would do that as the Dummerston Town School Board.
My PowerPoint is gonna be done with respect to my role as on the Act 46 Study Committee as Dummerston's voting member. That's why I was wondering if we wanted that to serve our schools, if we wanted to add that perspective to the mix. So,
So because you're on Article 8.
yes.
Because Article 7 is a Dummerston Town School Board article. And so I would think that that would be a presentation from the Dummerston Town School Board, as the Dummerston Town School Board sees alternatives and options under Act 46, and what we understand about the law, which is why I thought we should all do it together, so we're all on board, and we can all go back and read the
Well-
statute before the meeting.
We said 7 is coming from the floor.
And they're asking the Dummerston Town School Board to do that.
Right.
So you want to do a PowerPoint presentation as the Act 46 representative?
No, I don't want to. I am going to do that. That's been my intent all along, and that's what I said I was going to do when I mentioned it to begin with. I'm just thinking bigger picture. Do we want to offer to have you stand up because you've done activities with them and round out the picture?
So I guess I'm not comfortable representing that group because I've only been there to answer questions for the group, as I would view this request would be to answer questions about Act 46. So if we wanted to invite them to come, I guess we could invite them to present. I would really like to see the Dummerston Town School Board have their analysis and come to an agreement to do a Dummerston Town School Board presentation, because I think that's what's being asked. So it's a little bit, the hat for Article 7 is, I don't understand, because they're asking Dummerston Town School Board, not the Act 46 committee.
Correct. Yeah, and so we said that is coming from, that motion will come from the floor, right?
Right.
Or that will be addressed from the floor.
To the Dummerston Town School Board.
Right. And I'm saying in Article 8, I'm going to give a presentation on, actually an update in a PowerPoint presentation on the Act 46 Study Committee's work. That's what I initially proposed. I'm separate from Article 7.
So,
Article 7, what they're asking us to do doesn't mean that we have to do that day. If they're just, and if it's voted and approved, then we would be charged with having to look at the alternatives, and
Right.
so that would be a whole other presentation and whole other public forum another time. But I think what Amy's saying is, do we want a different view,
Right.
other than the study committee view, to be presented at town meeting in regards to Act 46?
And I'm saying this because I know Jody's had concerns that, the study committee is not open, and I don't want that perception to be out there for our board, that, we would welcome other viewpoints as well.
Well, I assume when we're addressing each article that's on the warning, there's going to be open floor discussion for each article. And so presumably by the relatively broad nature, it looks to me, of Article 7, then there could be that discussion happening from people who felt favorable towards an Act 46 merger as it's progressing right now, and people who didn't feel as favorable towards an Act 46 merger as it's progressing right now. So I don't know that, and the idea, I think, with having this as a Warren Dummerston Town School District meeting, portion of the town meeting, is so that we have the floor, essentially. I mean, to allow the discussion to happen with respect and framed by these specific articles. So I don't know that an invitation to a party, a body that's outside of the Dummerston Town School Board is really necessary or appropriate. That's just my
Well,
opinion.
Okay. It just was something I was thinking of when I was last night about town meeting and how we might allow other voices, to present.
I also think, though, that the Act 46 is a 706B study committee, which has a particular charge.
Mhm.
And then the Dummerston Town School Board has a slightly different, because
Yes.
we're the ones that empower that, and we have a slightly
Right.
different charge. And so, in the meeting, the last public information meeting, we had warned a meeting to do that, and we didn't do that. It was 9:30, we were all toast at that point. So I think this could sort of be that and have a discussion with the town on 7. I don't see, so that's what I thought the PowerPoint was for. So now I have to rethink 7 about what we do for Article 7, which we probably should table till later because we're supposed to be doing a budget review.
Yes.
And I still have an other under unfinished.
Okay.
I mean, for 7, I can take Beth's slides and,
You know what? I'll work on a 7 PowerPoint presentation. I will try to get that out to everybody on Wednesday.
well, Beth's slides might actually be very helpful.
I know, I saw them from Jill, and Jill tried to send them to me yesterday, but they're too big to send.
Well, I got a copy today,
So you
Beth.
could maybe send me a copy of those,
Okay.
and then I'll work up, send it out. I have to do it by Thursday at noon, so you'll have it by Thursday at noon. Ooh, if I can send it. And then we can still meet Monday and talk about a Dummerston Town School Board presentation, and then you can do an Act 46. And I think that makes it more clear as to what is happening, I guess.
Right. So I know that I initially volunteered, so I still would like to go through and work on Beth's presentation so maybe we can do that together.
For Article 7.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Sure.
So are you doing 2 different presentations? I'm confused.
Well, it seems that way now, yes.
Okay, so what are the 2 different presentations that,
I'm giving an update on Act 46 Study Committee under Article 8. And then Article 7, it looks like I'm going to be taking and adopting the Guilford as sort of a backup to any floor discussion, the alternative structures that, and why they may not necessarily be appropriate for our situation. Because that seems applicable to Article 7 potentially. I originally was envisioning it in the Act 46 update, but if we're so, I don't know, I guess if you want to make a Dummerston presentation, then it might be a good one to do that on, because it pertains directly to, I'm having trouble wearing the hats
I know.
on this one, so, dividing.
That's why I think it would make it a little more clear that this is from that perspective, which is a different charge perhaps than the Dummerston Town School Board charge.
Yep.
So how about I try and,
Well, I still would like to work with you on it,
Okay,
like
how-
I originally said.
okay, so how, I am leaving to be out of town Thursday at noon, so.
Yep.
I mean, I guess we can do it virtually because it's just 2 of us.
Yep.
Okay, so I can try to put something together and we can do it virtually over the.
Okay.
Jody, you've been waiting so patiently.
Well, I know what you planned earlier in the year. You guys talk and then I get to talk. I want to speak to the 147 people who signed that petition to put this article on the town warning. And the reason that the article is put on is because we weren't able to have a conversation at last town meeting. And people were very frustrated that we were not having that conversation. And they wanted the opportunity for the town to have that conversation. And so many of the things that have gone on over the last 15 months, if the town or anybody else wants to present something, the air has been taken out of the room by the study committee, and there hasn't been time for the community to have their say and ask their questions. And that was the reason for the petition. So if you go and hogtie the Article 7 and don't allow the community members to ask their questions and have their say, and you've got all these PowerPoints, it's not going to achieve what those 147 people signed a petition for. So that's why it needs to be moved from the floor, it needs to be spoken from the floor. The other thing is, I am a representative of the local communities for local schools group. It's somehow gotten changed to Save Our Schools, but that's what it is of. And I know that there are going to be several people from that group, from Dummerston, at the meeting, and are perfectly willing and would like to speak to their position. So I just want to make that very clear, that I think you get an uprising if Article 7 tries to get taken away from the intent of why it was put on there.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Amy?
So, Jody, my proposal is not to take away from people's ability to speak, particularly to Article 7. It was just it's asking a very specific thing of the Dummerston School Board, and I think it will be important to share the information about the other governance structures, because it is a complicated topic that we have right now, and explain why, some of them are really not suited for our particular situation.
Well, there's the other side to it, and I think that will come out very clearly from the public. So,
Okay.
it needs to be a give and take.
Yeah.
It really needs to be a conversation.
And Jody, I just want to be clear that when I said that that this might lead to a further public information or public forum, it was because the way I read this was not to give I'm not saying that this won't happen, but to give the public the time to speak at town meeting, but it says that it's asking the school board to further investigate and look into these things, so that's why I was like, we have to do that.
Yeah,
So
you're correct.
Okay.
But that is asking the school board, and it's not asking them to do it right there at
right,
that
that's what I
minute.
was like, okay, we'll be there for days, yeah. It'll be town
No,
week.
you're right.
Okay.
Nobody wants to stay at town meeting for 4 days.
No. Okay, so are we clear on what we're doing?
I got a quick motion.
Okay.
Motion to form a committee of 2 to prepare a presentation with respect to Article 7. And I nominate Christina Naylor and Amy Wall for that committee of 2.
I don't necessarily feel like a motion's necessary, because we'll all be providing input on it. So,
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of a committee of 2 being formed to create a PowerPoint for Article 7, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Okay, perfect. Other? What, yes, other.
Unfinished business. Report out from Wyndham Southeast Supervisory Union past meeting. The majority of the meeting took place in executive session. However, when people came out of executive session, it was recommended that each school board review the VSBA Code of Ethics, Code of Conduct, Vermont Code of Ethics for School Board. When I looked through this folder that we have at central office, the last date I see is 2014. So if you have not reviewed it since 2014, perhaps we should put it on the agenda for another meeting to review the Code of Ethics and have you all sign the School Board Code of Ethics. And the other thing from that meeting is just a reminder that executive sessions should not be recorded, notes taken, executive session needs to be, when you come out, if a decision is made, that's made public, but you should not be recording in any way executive sessions. Is there anything else?
Oh, that was it, those two topics.
To that end, when I was given my folder, I asked if it was updated, and Ron said, I'll check and I'll get that back to you. And I'm not sure, have you ever gotten, do you have?
I'm trying to recall, I don't know.
And so we have
one way or
3
the
board
other.
members here who do not have I had it briefly, I read the whole dang thing, but then I said, well, if it's not updated, how do I know if it's the most recent revision of things?
So generally, after town meeting, we have a new board member session. So, I mean, you could come to that again,
Okay.
Christina.
And they would give us
Definitely.
a-
Yep, all
Okay.
of that. Emily and Michael would certainly be invited, but because it's, both Emily and Michael came on mid-term, so to speak, we usually do it after elections, so.
I would like to move our website postings discussion to our March something meeting, maybe the 14th, if that's okay with everyone, so we can move on with the budget. Is that,
We have to move that?
no, I'm just asking, just want everyone's opinion. Okay.
It's fine.
That's assuming you guys are all here, because it's such a hotly contested race.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah. you got
Yeah, it might be totally different people on March.
Yeah, yeah.
Write-in candidates.
Yes.
I hope you'll all be here.
I may be writing something in for my seat.
So I have to convince a lot of people to write it in too. Okay, so thank you, the three public people, for waiting an extra half an hour. So this is the time to go over the budget and we can answer any questions you have. Is there any pressing information you're curious about? Jody says yes. So rather, I mean, unless you want us to go over changes, I mean, Jody, I think you were here for, I mean, what do you want from us? Really?
What do you want from us?
What do you want from us? 'Cause I don't want to go over everything and if,
No, I just had some questions along the line, and I must have missed some of this when we were sitting through the budget. I was just concerned about what's technology CS and why is that down? What is it and why is it nothing now? And the equipment, the same thing, I'm dealing with the technology issue.
It's contracted services for technology.
the
Which
CS.
Oh, that's what the CS is, contracted
Yes.
services, okay.
Which we keep trying to put money into to get, but we don't have it, so we took it out.
And I don't know, I can't remember how your guidance, because you talked about whether you would increase it to 100% or not. Did you finally end up increasing it to 100%?
Yeah.
Yes.
You want me to just keep going?
Yeah, and I believe that might be in the Views article.
It is.
Yeah, in the summary of,
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't had
Yep.
time to read that, and I should read that before the town meeting.
So I think it's fine if you just keep going with your questions.
Somebody else may have some questions.
Well, yeah, they'll do it after you.
What exactly is the school board dues and fees? Is that just Vermont School Boards Association, which doesn't represent individual boards anymore, or is it something else?
I believe, yes, it's primarily the VSBA dues. What would the fees be?
If a board member availed themselves of some sort of
I can't hear you,
Worksheet.
Frank, please.
a workshop, if there is a workshop or something like that, that a board member attended, it could be part of that line item.
If we wanted to go to like
Yeah.
the conference that
But
we pay for.
you're no longer paying the VSBA because that's coming out of the supervisory union, correct?
no.
No, we're
Yeah.
paying.
Yeah, we're separate
I
from the
thought that was
SU.
their whole vote this last year for at their annual meeting,
No.
to change it to the supervisory union.
I don't know. We
Not
had
that
it,
I'm aware
it's
of.
in our budget.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
You're
recheck
mistaken.
that one. And I was just, you're down in elementary teachers and you're up in secondary. Is that just a switch of teachers, Joe Carroll?
We're up in secondary?
Salaries?
No, we're
You're down
really not.
13.9% in pre-K,
In elementary and then up to
pre-K
2.3.
through 11? Okay.
The elementary teacher salary is down due to a retirement, or we're not replacing a position? Is
We're
that
not
right?
replacing a position.
And then we are going to be, there's other retirements, and on average, a teacher coming in will be at a lower salary. So we've changed the numbers to reflect what will probably happen, which is what you have to do with the budget. That's the best you can do. The secondary is, the salaries are only up 2.3%, Jody. It's a healthcare number that's caused secondary salaries to go up. Somebody has, maybe that wasn't,
I'm just looking at the top line, but that's not much, it's just 2.3%.
that's contractual,
Okay.
that's not much of a teacher,
Are
3,000.
you all negotiating, because I read through the state that everybody has to negotiate this year? Because there's a change in the health or something like that, Frank?
Yeah, the contract is up at the end of June 2017, so boards will be going through the negotiations process this year.
Thank you. And something was said at the meeting the other day that I didn't catch, that you're not doing baseball
Yeah.
anymore?
I don't think there's been girls' middle school softball in several.
baseball.
In a couple of years,
Softball.
but baseball we've had, or haven't had, depending on how many students we have and how many we can co-op from other schools. Sometimes Putney and Dummerston will do it together.
So your coaching fees don't reflect not having boys baseball then, going down?
No, they don't.
Okay.
I keep it in there in case we do have it. Which I
Okay,
think we
'cause-
may have it this year.
It went down $1,000, that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, if we don't have softball.
Because, yeah, we don't have softball, so that when you look at the actual for fiscal year 17, it was 6,725. So that was in 2016. So we budgeted, I think, that we were gonna have both softball and baseball. So we're probably not going to have girls softball, but the money is still in there for boys baseball. Would that be the correct?
Yeah, I know my granddaughter's very upset that there's no softball, no girls want to play.
They
Okay.
might play with,
Hmm?
we're still waiting for Putney Central to see if they're gonna have a softball team.
Maybe join up.
Yep.
That would be good, the collaboration. My other questions deal with, well, one is the Wyndham Southeast Supervisory Union budget. This one page page 42 in our town report, that's not a total budget, is it? It's not what, it's just kind of a summary?
Yes, that's a summary. Yeah, see what we're looking at. Yep, that's a summary of the 18,768,000 as proposed. And yeah, there was a detailed document that was provided to the SU board, of course, and the finance committee. The SU finance committee met maybe 6 meetings, I think, to review the
At least,
various
yeah.
segments of that budget.
Is that a public document that I
Yes.
could get?
Sure.
Yeah, it's been forwarded to all the board members.
Okay, so I could get one from the board, one of the board members then.
I'll send you one.
You'll send me one, great,
Yes, I
thank you.
will.
Because more and more stuff is being put into the supervisory union budget, and it's not something that the public ever gets to vote on. And,
Is it on the USCSU budget website?
Yeah, it is
Might be
on the
the
website.
SU website.
I believe it is, yeah.
It's sometimes hard to find what you're looking for.
what'd you say?
It's sometimes hard to find it, but I think it is on the SU.
So if I went to the WSSU website, I could get the budget?
I believe so. If not, I'll send it to you.
But, so one of my questions, well, I have 2 or 3 questions about this. I noticed that we never seem to get salaries for the superintendent and for the financial administrator. We have our principal salary, but we never seem to have those. And I'd be curious as to how many people are working in the central office, and how many people are under the superintendent, and how many people are under Frank, to do that. And I don't know whether that's in the total budget or not.
That's in the total WSCSU budget, yeah. And that has not changed. We added one accounting function, right?
That's right.
To support, and that was primarily done because Vernon opted to not, their town was taking care of the financial aspects and writing in the checks, and then they have opted not to do that. So all that information is in that budget.
It's in the
Yeah,
budget.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
why is there a big food service item in the WSSU budget?
All food service by, was it Act
156.
156?
Act 156 required that special education and food service and transportation all transferred up to the SU level.
Okay, I knew about transportation and special ed, but I didn't know about food service.
Yep.
So everything that we pay in our cafeterias all go through the SU?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that caught my eye, been catching my eye all this last year, is it gets very confusing sometimes when we're talking about students in school, whether we're talking about equalized students or kids in seats, or in Dummerston's case, whether we're adding on our intensive services group. And I guess I find it very confusing. And then I looked at the paper the other day, and Brattleboro had been rated in the study committee for the number of students, but then Jill had said there was like 150 more students, and so I'm just trying to figure out what we're really talking about when we're talking about students.
I don't understand what you,
Well, it was in the paper, and I believe it was quoted as 861 students in Brattleboro, but normally everybody's saying there's 700 or 600 and something, and it just, maybe it was a misquote in the paper.
I
But
know.
between equalized students, kids in seats and all that, there seems to be a discrepancy between numbers. And I think it's confusing to me, it's
Yeah,
confusing.
I think the information that the study committee presents, and maybe you can confirm this, Frank, but that is actual kids in seats, that the enrollment trends that we've seen.
Right.
It's only when we talk about tax rates that the equalized pupil number comes into play.
Okay, so this page 43 with total enrollment is actually kids in seat for Dummerston.
I don't have that information.
They
in
say
front of me.
145. So it's not counting the intensive.
I know that the equalized pupil number is higher than that, so
Yeah,
I would tend to think the 143 is the current
But
number.
this excludes the pre-K number?
That's right.
Right.
So.
Yeah, see, that's the other issue. You have your pre-K or you don't have your pre-K. So it's very hard to make comparisons
Well,
along this.
And I
pre-K,
think
pre-K, it's like a .25 for each pre-K student, and we have, what, 10, 12 of them?
Yeah.
So it's
4.46.
another 6 kids?
So it's a .25 that's
Point-
counted?
Yeah.
0.46.
Oh, .46,
Yeah.
okay.
4.6?
Yeah.
4.6, pre-K.
So if you look at that, we report 166 kids if you count the pre-K.
Oh, up here. But actually, the
yeah,
kids in
that's-
seats right here today is 145.
And just
Without-
K through 6, K through 8. yeah.
K through 8 without intensive
Yeah,
services.
without intensive services.
Wait, what's the number, K through 8 without intensive?
143.
Or 143.
Isn't that what-
It's very confusing, Sam.
145.
Yeah, the census,
145, okay.
as of November 1st, that's
Okay.
your November 1st number.
Yep. Yeah, the intensive services, that enrollment would be reflected in the SU totals, because
Each-
those are special
Yeah,
education.
each setting.
Right.
Yeah.
And that it would also, it would be reflected in the equalized pupil number as greater than one student, so, because
So there, the intensive service room is
if there is a Dummerston child in there, then yes, it would be included in the
only
equal.
because it, as one Dummerston child,
I don't know if
not
there's
as the
just
5
one.
or 6 kids who are there, right?
Yeah,
You get counted from what the district that you come from,
right.
Okay, I see.
under
Yeah.
under current procedures.
So if there's a Brattleboro child there or children there, then they would be part of the Brattleboro special
Brattleboro.
education count, and they would be incorporated into the equalized pupil number, depending, the rating, or the prorated, not rated, the prorated.
I don't suppose there's an easy way to explain this.
I think when Frank was talking about equalized pupils, I think it's the first time that Frank said, I don't know about the phantom students because I don't get that information. So I think it's the first time Frank, I don't want to misquote you, but I think that, so.
Yeah, I don't derive, we're, you know, no public administrator accesses the income sensitivity statistics that the state of Vermont, the tax department uses to determine all of these weightings. And so we rely on the department for that statistic.
And then they average them.
It is a 2-year average, and then there's another weighting.
And then they square them.
That's what I'm confused about.
Yeah, and they do that because they try to get back to the actual number of kids. So they take all the Vermont kids, about 80,000. They assign weights. They take 2-year average, and then they divide by a factor to get us back to the original number. So
I don't
it's,
think this is, I see.
and the purpose is to redistribute the education aid to areas where poverty would suggest we need more support, more intervention.
And Michael probably knows this, but I don't know if you do, but equalized pupil number in the tax calculation is not the same as actual student count. So, because, you know, like we were talking about the preschool, the ADM students, they're worth half a kid in the equalized pupil count. You know, someone like the high school students are more than one equalized student, and I think special ed is also more than one.
Well, special ed has its own funding stream, so they don't equalize that, but it's the English language learning.
So, one kid is not necessarily one kid.
I think a magic 8 ball is really
Is
helpful.
there some website you can find this information as to how you, like a high school kid is 1 point whatever, or?
Yeah, it's in the statutes. It's, I think it's Title 32, and it's in the Section 4000 series, but if you just look up statutes online and query the school funding, you'll find all of those parameters and the description of the funding law.
I tried that and I didn't get it, so I must have done some direction wrong.
Yeah,
I
it
was
is.
trying to figure out this whole
It
thing.
is a section of the statutes, and it does articulate the way in which the Department of Ed and the public school boards will budget and plan on the whole taxation process, and then that, of course, is forwarded to the select board to implement.
I will try to find it. I have just one other question, and I wanted to know what was spent out of the capital fund. What it
We
was
don't
for.
really have a capital fund.
There really isn't a.
$1,243.
Yeah.
It's $1,243.
That's the ending balance. But there was a total expenditure of $1,526.79.
I don't know.
Where are you seeing that?
Yeah.
Capital fund, page 48. Started out with $2,767.61, a whopping $2.23 worth of interest,
Yeah,
and total
somebody- I'm not
expenditures
sure.
ending up with $1,223.05.
Do you recall assigning something to the capital fund, Joe Carroll?
I do not.
Yeah, so we can look.
I don't even
Look that
think
up.
you give me the capital fund account number.
We can look that up.
It's not the last payment on, God,
The water.
there was
thing.
4 payments for the roof repair. Was that the last thing that we did? Can't remember,
I
but.
don't know that that came out of there,
Oh,
though.
I think it
It was
did.
because the roof repair was a separate warning article at the time.
So it wasn't even last year, it was like.
It was several years ago, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but we can find it, right?
We can find it, yeah.
Just curious.
We're gonna
My last
investigate.
question.
So can I just respond to one thing about the mysteries around the WSESU budget and not, being privy to that information? Was my understanding that one of the things about Act 46, by eliminating a supervisory union, you'd be eliminating any budgets that weren't voted on by the people.
Yep.
So when they talk about transparency, this is the example that I would think would be most specific to that level of transparency, is that it would, central office would no longer be, or the finance committee would no longer be voting on money that then gets
Right.
sent to all the schools to pay for.
Yeah. Because right now, what happens is the finance committee, I'm Dummerston's rep on the finance committee, we meet intensively during the month of November. Into early December, go through the SU budget line by line, meet with the different department heads like Marissa Duncan Hawley and Frank and Ron for operations. And then it all goes to the full. Once the finance committee is satisfied with the budget, then we recommend it going to the SU board, and that usually happens in early December. That there's a full SU board meeting, and the representatives from each town would then vote to approve the SU budget. And I believe,
But that would be eliminated if
Correct.
there was a consolidation.
yeah, so, yeah, and there is no, other than people coming to the finance committee meetings, or the SU board, there's, we've never had anybody come in the, many years I've been doing this and serving in that role.
And then on the flip side of it, when you have the BUHS annual meeting, where
A whole
it
100
is
people.
responsibility of everybody to come to vote on.
That's
They
what'll
don't
happen
even
if
get
they
1%.
be merged. So that was it for me, Emily. Thank you.
Katie?
Why am I calling you Emily?
I don't know, Emily.
Katie.
That we need
both
see,
have
that's
almost similar hair.
That's why we need the little
name
name
tags.
tags, yeah.
I was never good with names.
Sam, did you have anything?
I just wanted to mention that I've been looking on the WSESU board website and not finding the budget, so
Oh,
Okay.
we will need it
Okay.
from board members.
Yeah,
Okay.
you should forward it, but I'll be sure that it's posted. I thought
it was on there.
I'll check it as well,
I
make
have
sure.
to go out to the top to find.
sometimes
your
it's
stuff.
hard to find things on that website. So,
Like I find things better by Googling sometimes.
yes.
And like WSESU budget, and then it plunks me into the right place.
It is on there,
It is?
yeah. I'm looking.
Under,
It's under Wyndham Southeast Supervisory Union budget.
And sometimes it's WSSU, not
Yeah.
WSESU.
But you go to the
That would take you
website.
someplace else.
are you there right
But you have to
now?
go out from like the top, right? If you don't go down into boards. It's weird to find
It says
it.
budget, you go into budget and it's one of the first ones on the page.
Where's budget?
Maybe you ought to go and sit next to Frank and Frank can have him show you, then you can show me.
Yeah, it's a 21-page report it is in a PDF format, so you should be able to see it.
Did you want to say something?
You know, and Sam and I are pretty well
Sam's finished,
educated
but I
on this
wanted
whole
to-
thing. I can imagine people that have no clue.
When he's finished, I do have to, and say.
Okay.
Let me email it to somebody.
Just curious to see. So, this is not our general ledger report, so we'll have to ask, who, do we know who does this, page 48 in the town report?
Good.
Lister, is that
Auditors.
the auditors?
Yeah.
Found it,
You think they would,
Just needed to get my,
yeah,
the thread.
yeah, so,
This could be a capital fund, called a capital fund that lives
I'll show you.
along with the PTFO fund down at the town offices
Okay.
or
Oh, yeah.
something.
Talk with Charlotte, maybe?
Yeah,
It's
it might not be any relation to a capital fund of the school.
Could that be Claude's money from,
It could very well be, yeah.
But it's
The
the
baseball-
same
But it
money
matches
that's
the
coming
No,
on
that'd be under
here.
PTFO.
It's coming, oh no, it's not the same money. Yeah, it's the
It's not.
same money that's on here. So this capital fund here is on the,
But interest earned on it?
Mhm.
We don't,
Yeah, we'll look at, I just looked at the transaction history for
It's not there.
fiscal year 2016, and there is none. So, yeah,
it's an error?
yeah.
beginning
no.
balance.
I see no activity.
It could be the rec department.
do you do this part of the report,
I
Fred?
do the summary, yeah. Mhm.
So that money's here.
Yep, the 1243, but I don't see any transactions in fiscal year 16. So maybe that was a
Oh.
prior year.
Where's the, 1245?
Yep, well, we'll look into it.
Can I ask, so transportation is up at the SU, but we still, when we were talking about how special ed, food service, and transportation are all now at the SU level, but transportation still comes down, so it's being allocated through, so that's why it shows up in your budget.
That's
Okay,
right, just
thank
like
you.
special ed
Okay.
still does, yeah. They haven't said that they're going to reroute the transportation revenue
Okay.
through the SU, so.
Okay, so that's why it's going like
Yeah.
this, okay.
But just as the SU assessment still is there for special ed, it's just net of the
Right,
revenue.
right.
Sam, can I just respond to a question that you haven't asked? So, back to the per pupil count, I know that one of the things that the town study is looking for is the number of students, the current number of students.
The town plan.
The town plan, which I've said to Sam, and I just want to say publicly, that I report the number of kids that are in seats at this school,
Yeah.
which won't equal any of the other numbers that you find in the budget, in case it comes up.
But as you were throwing out numbers earlier, you said 145, 144.
Is like the weighted average,
Oh, I thought that was the seats.
No, 145
seats
was-
and Bodies and seats, that was.
no,
that
that's not
number.
bodies and
Well,
seats.
that's not this.
Okay.
Wait a minute, how many bodies do you
No,
have in
and then I
seats?
said, we send up 166 kids when we look at the pre-K, and now there's 150 kids here now.
There's 150 here now?
Yeah, and there was more than that in November.
In November. But that is a K through 8 number, because the pre-K are not in seats here.
Right,
So you're doing the K through 8.
the K through
Yeah.
8 kids in seats on the given day that I
Yeah.
send it to you.
Not including the intensive services program.
I do include the
The
intensive
Oh.
services when I count the number of kids that are here being educated by teachers here.
Okay,
Oh.
For the,
Oh, okay, so that's gonna be what,
Yeah.
you're gonna
yeah,
add that to it, okay. Not just the Dummerston ones, but all of them, okay.
Any further discussion on the budget? None, okay. Thank you. So, we have our meeting on Monday, which is a work session, then we're gonna go over the PowerPoint. Then, yes,
About Monday. I won't be able to make it on Monday. There is another board meeting that I have to attend, or, yeah. I don't know if you'll be able to make it on Monday either.
I might ask Richard to move that meeting. That's right, the first Monday. Okay.
Why don't we hold the
Okay.
meeting time now and see,
Yeah.
see if
See what
our
happens.
other board may be amenable to switching the date for their meeting.
okay.
Oh, yeah, Green Mountain Camp.
Okay.
I have a document to hand out too whenever it's related to the budget.
Oh, then hand it out now.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
So this is something that the Agency of Education requires that all school districts in the state share at town meeting. If it had to come out earlier, we would have put it in the annual report. So this is a data sheet. There's 10 copies, so there's one here. It's a data sheet that the Agency of Ed is required to compile, and then it gets shared with the public. But I wanted you to see this, and I think, Joe Carroll, if I can maybe forward it to you, just so that it's at town meeting.
Yep.
As a handout. You might recognize this as something that's been done for several years. And Brad James develops the entire data set. There's no input at all in this document for us.
Then you pick schools at random.
Well, it's intended to put in, you see 3 different periods. It's intended to put in each period similar size schools together into a cohort. So you can see what other similar size districts look like in the state. So the top group of data, fiscal year 16, is just basically showing your size, and then a student-teacher ratio, student-administrator ratio. And you see the bold there is Dummerston that indicates your ratios are a little higher than the state average. Second set of data, 2015, the focus on this is the, so again, you're similar size, so the focus on this is the spending per student statistic, and you see that Dummerston's substantially higher than this cohort of 7 schools. And then the bottom set of data is the focus there is on the tax rate, and the equalized tax rate is just as you would expect. If spending per student is high, your equalized tax rate is going to be high as well. So there's your comparison group of similar sized schools in Vermont.
Why do they keep changing the schools? Why don't they use the same schools for all 3 data?
I have to ask them, but this is directed specifically by that statute there that's cited at the bottom,
Yeah.
that the legislature enacted several years ago.
I have a,
One, that's all you want. Total administration,
Mhm.
but the average is .99.
Yeah, somebody's part-time or rounded.
But you'd be rounding all full-time. There's 1 administrator for each
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, yeah, they've,
oh, but maybe it's rounding, not, oh no, it's rounding the cohort,
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense.
I'm not the greatest in math.
No, you're good, that was
That one I could
reading.
get.
That was reading, actually, that was literacy.
Well, this says that there's 33 schools in the cohort, so maybe the 7 are just a sample.
Mhm.
So somewhere.
yeah, 33, 34, yeah.
You are good with the word problems.
Those are the
There you
closest.
go.
You can do the money on town meeting.
It's okay. I had to sit here and stare at it for a while to figure it out.
Frank, I have a question about the preschool pass-through money.
Mhm.
Where does that come in?
So there is no pass-through money.
Oh, okay, there is no pass-through money. We don't get money from the state for the preschoolers anymore.
You get to count
We
preschoolers.
can count the butts as .46 now, I get it.
Yeah.
Because I said that's a heck of a deal if we still get the $3,000.
You pay the $3,000.
No, we pay out the $3,000. No, I get the math behind it, but I thought we also got the $3,000 and got the .46. Would be like the deal of the century.
Right, no, it's just spending, which is
Yep.
the $3,000 divided by enrollment, and of course where everything is aggregated into total spending,
Yep.
total enrollment. So
I'm with you,
It's
I'm
your-
with you.
yeah.
So I'd like when we're on other business, I would like to continue the pre-K discussion for Dummerston School at some point and put that on an agenda for some time, because I was playing with the numbers and it looks like a really great thing to do. And maybe my numbers are wrong, but it seems like when you get to count when I see, Putney, because their ADM is, even though they have less of the Joe Carroll attendance number, they're counting all those 3- and 4-year-old bodies as full bodies. It really brings down your tax rate. And it's good for the children, and it's good for the school in a lot of ways. So it's something I think we should.
And just based on what you had said, yes, it looks like it's a $70,000 program or whatever, but it doesn't account for why their taxes are lower. And
Which program are you?
Having the preschool program
Mhm.
that,
Like Putney?
Like Putney.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it essentially does, generally, because if cost per student is less than your average cost that you see on the tax page in your document, your $17,000 or $18,000 per student, which pre-K is substantially less, then you're simply going to lower your tax rate when you make that investment. But if you make that investment and you invest in such a way that you don't have the kids and therefore your cost per student is not less than
Right.
the regular K through 8 average, then you will increase your tax rate.
and how much with the startup in these other schools is dependent upon the Head Start?
Well,
Especially-
for Guilford, it's very dependent on the federal revenue. To whatever extent the Head Start provides the teacher, they will match that with the federal revenue. They have no option to separate that. So and there's an eligibility requirement there in terms of poverty. So for Guilford, that's very important part of getting that started. So
But
for
can
Dummerston.
when Vernon started theirs this year? did they
Vernon's
have-
isn't a,
Yeah.
Vernon just moved their preschool into the school. It's not a
it's not a
Oh,
school.
yeah.
school affiliated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they are paying the school rent. The town of Vernon is paying the school district of Vernon $222,000 in rent, which is, very, very helpful for the
Yeah.
town overall, because that substantially lowers,
I know.
the amount to be raised in taxes.
$222,000?
Mhm. It's based on a market rate, square foot, use of the building.
I know.
That was the market.
They pay a large subsidy for their food service program too.
They do.
You don't want to move here for $111,000?
So we'll definitely put that on the agenda to talk more about. Okay. So for the meeting in March, we'll review the code of ethics, we'll talk about website postings, we'll have a pre-K discussion.
It'll be reorganization.
Oh, we'll reorganize. That's right. And, and hopefully we'll talk about the tuition reduction request.
That'd be nice.
Okay,
I move we adjourn.
thank you.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning at 7:36? No, the clock must have stopped.
We started at
Please
6.
say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
And thank you for your answers.
thank you for coming, Jody.